Welcome to the Cryptoverse, the premier destination for anyone new to cryptocurrency. We help you understand the crypto space to gain a basic level of knowledge regarding most commonly used terms and lingo, as well as current events and breaking news. Thank you for joining us.
This David is. Yeah, this is the crypto EO. We're going to be forming an internal working group to make America the world capital in crypto under your leadership.
Which is really going up, right?
Absolutely.
David, that's for you.
Thanks.
You find them exciting? They might not be exciting, but they're going to make a lot of money for the country.
Thank you, sir.
Executive Order, Strengthening American Leadership in Digital Financial Technology, January 23, 2025. By the authority vested in me as President by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, and in order to promote United States leadership in digital assets and financial technology while protecting economic liberty, it is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1. Purpose and Policies. A. The digital asset industry plays a crucial role in innovation and economic development in the United States, as well as our nation's international leadership. It is therefore the policy of my administration to support the responsible growth and use of digital assets, blockchain technology, and related technologies across all sectors of the economy, including by 1. Protecting and promoting the ability of individual citizens and private sector entities alike to access and use for lawful purposes open public blockchain networks without persecution, including the ability to develop and deploy software, to participate in mining and validating, to transact with other persons without unlawful censorship, and to maintain self-custody of digital assets. 2. Promoting and protecting the sovereignty of the United States dollar, including through actions to promote the development and growth of lawful and legitimate dollar-backed stablecoins worldwide. 3. Protecting and promoting fair and open access to banking services for all law-abiding individual citizens and private sector entities alike. 4. Providing regulatory clarity and certainty built on technology-neutral regulations, frameworks that account for emerging technologies, transparent decision-making, and well-defined jurisdictional regulatory boundaries, all of which are essential to supporting a vibrant and inclusive digital economy and innovation in digital assets, permissionless blockchains, and distributed ledger technologies. And 5. Taking measures to protect Americans from the risks of central bank digital currencies, CBDCs, which threaten the stability of the financial system, individual privacy, and the sovereignty of the United States, including by prohibiting the establishment, issuance, circulation, and use of a CBDC within the jurisdiction of the United States. Section 2. Definitions. A. For the purpose of this order, the term digital asset refers to any digital representation of value that is recorded on a distributed ledger, including cryptocurrencies, digital tokens, and stablecoins. B. The term blockchain means any technology where data is 1. Shared across a network to create a public ledger of verified transactions or information among network participants. 2. Linked using cryptography to maintain the integrity of the public ledger and to execute other functions. 3. Distributed among network participants in an automated fashion to concurrently update network participants on the state of the public ledger and any other functions. And 4. Composed of source code that is publicly available. C. Central bank digital currency means a form of digital money or monetary value denominated in the national unit of account that is a direct liability of the central bank. Section 3. Revocation of Executive Order 14067 and Department of the Treasury Framework of July 7, 2022. A. Executive Order 14067 of March 9, 2022, ensuring responsible development of digital assets is hereby revoked. B. The Secretary of the Treasury is directed to immediately revoke the Department of the Treasury's Framework for International Engagement on Digital Assets, issued on July 7, 2022. C. All policies, directives, and guidance issued pursuant to Executive Order 14067 and the Department of the Treasury's Framework for International Engagement on Digital Assets are hereby rescinded or shall be rescinded by the Secretary of the Treasury as appropriate to the extent they are inconsistent with the provisions of this order. D. The Secretary of the Treasury shall take all appropriate measures to ensure compliance with the policies set forth in this order. Section 4. Establishment of the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets. A. There is hereby established within the National Economic Council the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets, Working Group. The Working Group shall be chaired by the Special Advisor for AI and Crypto, Chair. In addition to the Chair, the Working Group shall include the following officials or their designees. 1. The Secretary of the Treasury. 2. The Attorney General. 3. The Secretary of Commerce. 4. The Secretary of Homeland Security. 5. The Director of the Office of Management and Budget. 6. The Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs. 7. The Assistant to the President for National Economic Policy, APEP. 8. The Assistant to the President for Science and Technology. 9. The Homeland Security Advisor. 10. The Chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission. And 11. The Chairman of the Commodity Futures Trading Commission. 12. As appropriate and consistent with applicable law, the Chair may invite the heads of other executive departments and agencies, or other senior officials within the executive office of the President to attend meetings of the Working Group based on the relevance of their expertise and responsibilities. B. Within 30 days of the date of this order, the Department of the Treasury, the Department of Justice, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and other relevant agencies, the heads of which are included in the Working Group, shall identify all regulations, guidance documents, orders, or other items that affect the digital asset sector. Within 60 days of the date of this order, each agency shall submit to the Chair recommendations with respect to whether each identified regulation, guidance document, order, or other item should be rescinded or modified, or for items other than regulations adopted in a regulation. C. Within 180 days of the date of this order, the Working Group shall submit a report to the President through the APEP, which shall recommend regulatory and legislative proposals that advance the policies established in this order. In particular, the report shall focus on the following. 1. The Working Group shall propose a federal regulatory framework governing the issuance and operation of digital assets, including stablecoins, in the United States. The Working Group's report shall consider provisions for market structure, oversight, consumer protection, and risk management. 2. The Working Group shall evaluate the potential creation and maintenance of a national digital asset stockpile and propose criteria for establishing such a stockpile, potentially derived from cryptocurrencies lawfully seized by the federal government through its law enforcement efforts. D. The Chair shall designate an executive director of the Working Group who shall be responsible for coordinating its day-to-day functions. On issues affecting the national security, the Working Group shall consult with the National Security Council. E. As appropriate and consistent with law, the Working Group shall hold public hearings and receive individual expertise from leaders in digital assets and digital markets. Section 5. Prohibition of central bank digital currencies. A. Except to the extent required by law, agencies are hereby prohibited from undertaking any action to establish, issue, or promote CBDCs within the jurisdiction of the United States or abroad. B. Except to the extent required by law, any ongoing plans or initiatives at any agency related to the creation of a CBDC within the jurisdiction of the United States shall be immediately terminated, and no further actions may be taken to develop or implement such plans or initiatives. Section 6. Severability. A. If any provision of this order or the application of any provision to any person or circumstance is held to be invalid, the remainder of this order and the application of its provisions to any other persons or circumstances shall not be affected thereby. Section 7. General Provisions. A. Nothing in this order shall be construed to impair or otherwise affect 1. The authority granted by law to an executive department, agency, or the head thereof, or 2. The functions of the Director of the Office of Management and Budget relating to budgetary, administrative, and legislative proposals. B. This order shall be implemented consistent with applicable law and subject to the availability of appropriations. C. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity by any party against the United States, its departments, agencies, or entities, its officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. The White House, January 23, 2025. Examining Trump crypto order, what it does and doesn't say. Trump delivered on his promise to many American cryptocurrency holders by officially signing his executive order before the close of business day, January 23, 2025. For the purpose of pondering what lies ahead, the following examination shall simply highlight what was made firm and clearly stated, as opposed to what was not mentioned and may be open for debate and interpretation, as any lawful argument pertaining to any legal document would be. Section 1. Purpose and Policies. With regard to promoting crypto and U.S. industry leadership, everything is fairly explicit, outlining the President's specific goals. Without restating the order's specific points, it's important to note that it presents an easy-to-understand stratagem utilizing the correct terminology. Inclusions: digital assets, blockchain technology, public networks, mining and validating, unlawful censorship, self-custody, sovereignty, U.S. dollar, stablecoins, regulatory clarity, digital ledger technologies, and central bank digital currencies inside the U.S. Exclusions: Bitcoin, private blockchain networks and DLTs, foreign stablecoins and CBDCs outside the U.S. The fact that Bitcoin was not cited anywhere in this section, and any other, is telling, for one key reason perhaps. Although the President has spoken of it numerous times prior to his administration taking office, one major question remains as to the origin of Bitcoin. This may also relate to there not being any mention of no tax on crypto capital gains anywhere within the executive order. The implication of Bitcoin being an American creation bodes well for investors hoping to save on taxes, unless that detail is far from the truth. If American investors were to benefit from only crypto that was made in the USA, it would behoove the federal government to once and for all either determine or divulge information or knowledge regarding the creator or creators of the first-to-market blockchain technology encrypted software product. And as would follow in turn would be to reference whether the name Satoshi Nakamoto is of an actual living person or merely a pseudonym for a group of actors responsible for Bitcoin's development and deployment. Just as an aside, a video does exist from a few years back expressing the rumor that agents for the Department of Homeland Security allegedly met with a handful of Bitcoin creators in California. The issue requires a resolution. Who did it? Were they American or foreign? Or could it have been a CIA-backed funded program? The ultimate question is, will this administration and or the federal government actually provide and produce disclosure? Section 2, Definitions. Despite the title for this section, there exists not a list of terms, but more a legal reference to the usage of specific terms. It begins by clarifying digital asset as, quote, any digital representation of value that is recorded, end quote. As well, the term blockchain is defined by explaining how it refers to a cryptographic network and not necessarily as it would be described by popular contemporary search results. One only need compare and contrast this EO with what AIs like Brave Leo or Google Gemini would display. Inclusions: digital asset, distributed ledger, cryptocurrencies, digital tokens, stablecoins, blockchain, public ledger, publicly available source code, central bank digital currency. Exclusions: private source code and ledgers. It is the opinion of this examination that President Trump's administration might do well to provide a more robust list of definitions and with more terms by industry standards. This would not only provide true clarity, but also demonstrate the ability to converse in a more technical manner. Of course, it is understood that concise prudence is the result for legal purposes, and perhaps a level of vagueness has its own benefits to not limiting or pigeonholing the scope of this groundbreaking executive order. Also, wherein CBDC is referenced, it is hereby tied to the concept of, quote, digital money or monetary value denominated in the national unit of account that is a direct liability of the central bank, end quote. It's clear this mention is speaking of the Federal Reserve Bank, yet vagueness pervades, perhaps purposefully, as to leave room for future orders and legislation that has not yet been derived. One need only recall the past year's indirect dialogue through the media where Trump claimed he could fire the Fed chair, only to receive his public rebuttal to the contrary. Perhaps this is the White House leaving room for the unknown. Section 3. Revocation of Executive Order 14067 and Department of the Treasury Framework of July 7, 2022. Not much to say here since it merely invalidates a prior EO and departmental policy and procedure from the previous administration. It is the responsibility of the reader to personally investigate further in order to fully understand what the Biden administration had ordered and directed. That is not the purview of this examination. Section 4. Establishment of the President's Working Group on Digital Asset Markets. Expressed here firstly is a list of chosen persons and titles for the President's team that will be tasked with determining the course path going forward, initiating how federal government agencies shall regulate the crypto and digital assets industry. Secondly, a time frame schedule is outlined for the next 30, 60, and 180 days following the signing of this EO. Stipulations include identifying regulations, guidance documents, and legislative proposals and policies. Inclusions: National Economic Council, Working Group on Digital Markets, Special Advisor for AI and Crypto, Secretary of the Treasury, Attorney General, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Homeland Security, Director of the Office of Management and Budget, Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, Assistant to the President for National Economic Policy, APEP, Assistant to the President for Science and Technology, Homeland Security Advisor, Chairman of the SEC, Chairman of the CFTC, DOJ, and National Digital Asset Stockpile. Exclusions: Federal Reserve Bank, IRS and ERS, External Revenue Service, SEC Crypto 2.0, National Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. Essentially, within 30 days, the working group will identify aspects to focus on. Within 60 days, the chair will receive submissions for recommendations. By 180 days out, the group will submit a report to the President with full recommendations for regulation and legislation that advances the policies set forth by and in this EO. The question is, are these business days or not? If they are business days, we're looking at key dates being March 13, April 24, and October 9. Otherwise, the time frame is quite compressed with dates of February 22nd, which is a Saturday, March 24, and July 22nd. If the time scale enters early October, that would give the president's administration about 6.5 weeks before many of the world's other nations' central banks go online with ISO 20022 money messaging protocol by November 25th. It's important to note that considerations for provisions for market structure, consumer protection, and risk management are a priority. Also, what was phrased by the president-elect has been revised. Strategic Bitcoin Reserve has now evolved to National Digital Asset Stockpile. It would seem that this administration has opted for a broader scope to encompass all other cryptocurrencies, current and future products, projects, protocols. And although it states that a stockpile would be, quote, potentially derived from cryptocurrencies lawfully seized by the federal government through its law enforcement efforts, end quote, there is no mention of expressly purchasing assets in or on open market and trading exchanges. Although the SEC is included in this working group, there is not a mention of the recently formed SEC Crypto 2.0, a crypto task force aimed at developing clearer regulations and guidelines for the cryptocurrency industry. The task force will be led by SEC Commissioner Hester Peirce, who is known to be in opposition to ex-chair Gensler, whose approach to crypto regulation was enforcement-driven. The task force will also coordinate with other federal agencies such as the Commodity Futures Trading Commission, state regulators, and international counterparts. Lastly, national security is referenced, yet this examiner assumes or presumes that the working group shall determine and make recommendations for the actual methods for physical storage of digital assets. Section 5. Prohibition of central bank digital currencies. The reiteration of not promoting and or utilizing CBDCs is contained herein. Essentially, they are outlawed within the jurisdiction of the United States or abroad. What is not made clear is how or if the federal government might allow or restrict the Federal Reserve banks from approaching or dealing with foreign CBDCs from other nations' central banks. Section 6. Severability. This brief paragraph statement is seen to simply state that the potential invalidation of one part of this executive order does not ruin the rest of the whole. Section 7. General Provisions. This quick final section primarily establishes the authority of the executive, quote, department, agency, or head thereof, end quote, and the functions of the director of the Office of Management and Budget. One might expect that with respect to applicable law, this administration and federal agency is the law. Inclusions: authority granted by law, applicable law, availability of appropriations. Exclusions: specific laws and appropriations, accountability and liability. What is not made clear is what or which laws specifically are deemed, quote, applicable. Is this an end run around state and local common law and legal code and precedent statutes? As well, it is unclear as to what appropriations consist of, be they physical, monetary, and with regard to public and private employers/employees. And as national security has been referred to in sections above, in the grand scheme of things, does this at all or ever pertain to aspects of the military? Furthermore, aside from the fact that President Trump's crypto executive order has no reference number, there's surprisingly no mention of the one very big line item that he touted during his campaign. The idea of, quote, no tax on capital gains for crypto that is made in the USA, end quote. Perhaps it is a concept relegated to some future EO wherein the External Revenue Service shall be created and the Internal Revenue Service is dismantled. Certainly one would assume Trump has not forgotten this pledge, as he has assuredly held to many, if not all others, thus far. It's been fascinating to watch a response of many crypto bloggers and influencers online immediately afterwards as the details were posted to the whitehouse.gov. Generally, most viewed it with a positive attitude, while some Bitcoin maxis voiced their dismay regarding the omission of that one singular word. As well, there were others that enjoyed reading certain terms used that, although not naming Ripple specifically, or its brainchildren RLUSD and XRP, they caught the spirit referenced in the language. And still others that were even neutral on the order still found their way to complain that no significant increase in crypto values were achieved in the current market. However, as the days go by, there may yet be a pump on the exchanges, as most decidedly many agree that regardless of current retail investor strength, institutional investors are making purchases behind the scenes, at least if one listens to all the claims and rumors abound on the interwebs. The world will now be waiting and watching to see what happens in the next 30, 60, and 180, and 365 days ahead. Results to come. Regardless of what may transpire with all of President Trump's working group's success or failure, it will be interesting to see what individual states' governments and local jurisdictions decide to enact separate from what the federal government dictates or mandates. Perhaps, like with any new forming industry, some states like New York might continue to be regulation heavy, as others like Florida will fly unfettered. In the short term, yes, it will go by like a strong cup of coffee. For the next 2 to 3 quarters, this new digital financial game certainly promises to entreat prosperity while definitely supplying speculation. It's quite possible that by Q4 into 2026, the world of finance will be irrevocably evolved from Wall Street to Main Street as connected by the information superhighway. For more, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like and share this video if you may, and you can follow this channel to the Cryptoverse on X. Thank you very much for listening. We will be back with more information. To the Cryptoverse!
Thanks for watching, and please like, share, and subscribe. We share new crypto information so that you stay informed. Until next time, keep learning with us to the Cryptoverse.